What?
Okay, guys, so huge trial ended a couple days ago. And, historical trial. And the goofballs of the internet, including myself, have some things to say about it. And we're going to look at some of the goofier of the goofballs who, they do this. Here, let me do it. I'll show you a real illustration of it, of what they do online. They do that by saying things that they know are kind of stupid, but that their audience wants to hear. And in some cases, they believe themselves. So probably, I actually kind of have grown to sort of love Tim Pool's channel in a way. Tim Pool lives on this compound in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like run by kids. I really do feel like parents need to step in on this with Tim Pool. Because the stuff that he says online is just so insane. But hey, if it works, then I guess you do it. So here we go. Probably the dumbest take on the internet of this historic trial. Here we go.
So, look, I'm not happy about what happened. I don't like the idea that a cop is trying to arrest somebody and they die. The cops shouldn't be killing people, and there should be a level of scrutiny. The issue, I suppose, is this will not reform the police department. It won't. I guess what the left is going for is, if you can't beat them, burn them to the ground. If they can't get the police department abolished, then they're going to try and force every cop out. And right now, I gotta say, the smartest position for the police is probably just to leave.
What is this? Are they?
So this was a trial done in the United States legal system where the jury was anonymous. That's another thing these guys don't seem to understand. Anonymous jury. Okay? Anonymous jury. They decide, they look at the evidence and all this crap, and they decide what they want to do. That's how the system works, okay? But Tim Pool's theory here involves the left. So I guess even though the jurors are anonymous, they're all leftists who wanted to burn the police department to the ground. That's the only way they could have voted the way they did. His take, we'll watch a Ben Shapiro take in a second here, but his is so... Tim Pool puts zero work into this channel now, I believe. If you watch his normal channel, he'll bring up a few articles and he'll say, "This, my friends," is, he'll just do that. But this, when they get on live, it's like, I mean, you might as well just put like some 15-year-olds in front of the camera. They'd have very similar opinions. He is actually right. He starts off saying something that's kind of sensible. I don't know if maybe he heard this somewhere, but he's right. He starts off with this little thing that he's saying. He says, "This will not reform the police department." That's actually totally true. He starts off with a little bit of a truth. That's kind of the interesting, maybe misleading thing about this trial, is that maybe it's a false sense of quote unquote justice. That this is not going to change things fundamentally. It's not going to. And I watched so much of this, and I watched the footage. The body cam footage and testimonies and all this stuff. And I kept having the sense of like, this whole situation should have not happened in the first place, like so much of it. And that, he's right, is not going to be reformed by this. This is a cop is going to, go to jail. It's not going to, there's going to be no structural change. But then he takes a little bit of a
What?
turn.
I guess what the left is going for is, if you can't beat them, burn them to the ground. If they can't get the police department abolished, then they're going to try and force every cop out.
Also, you would have to, again, what he did is he paid no attention to the prosecution. You know why he didn't? Because he can't. I mean, if you read his comments on these live streams, they're all like, "That guy deserved to die. It's his fault." So he can't get off this path at all. He's stuck here. And look, like, the prosecution had a really good case. And he's just saying, for some reason, it's not possible that these anonymous jurors could come to this conclusion. Why? Because my audience does not want to hear that. So the left, and somehow he knows that the juries are all Marxist. They're all socialists. Somehow he knows that. The left, they just want to burn the police to the ground. Abolish the police means burn the police department to the ground. Oh boy, I had to cut the end of that last thing that I was saying because I threw up in my mouth a little bit for some. Note to self, cut this out. Don't put this in the video, okay? Remember. Okay, so now Tim throws it over to his co-host.
Are they like, okay, this is high conspiracy, but is this like a corporate takeover? Like, do they want private police?
The squad. You see that breaking story? You see that? The squad members buying all the private security?
Oh, of course.
Okay, first of all, I absolutely love his co-host and want to know the story of how that guy got on the show. That dude, like, Tim Pool, I would probably gamble all my money on that he met him at a skate shop. He met that dude at a skate shop or a Spencer's Gifts or something. And Tim Pool's like, this guy seems cool. Come on my show. I'll give you $2 million an episode. But so he's like, this might be conspiracy, but they just want private police? I mean, okay, so he takes everything that Tim says at face value, which is like, oh no, this wasn't just a trial that an anonymous jury decided a certain way based on the evidence. This is a conspiracy by, I guess, involving the jury somehow and to get private police. Then Tim brings up a story from Fox News where where they talked about, I guess, like people like AOC have spent money on private security guards. And he's like, see? Got him! And the Fox News article, you could look it up, frames this as like, look, these people like AOC, and by the way, like a lot of left people are kind of like don't really care about AOC and the squad. They're kind of like whatever. I feel like more and more real lefty people are kind of over the squad, which makes sense, I think. But he's like, oh, Fox News is like, oh, this is proof that the squad is full of crap. They're full of shit. They're full of crap because they want to abolish the police, and at the same time they have private security. So just to break this down a little bit, the squad are celebrities who get death threats basically nonstop all day, every day because of Fox News. And Fox News is like, why would they have private security? Second of all, maybe the whole abolish the police thing is, well, it is kind of bad marketing because if you know anything about this topic that has been written on extensively by academics, it's, hey, you know these problems that police are trying to police? Those are social problems. Why don't we try working on the social problems instead of just throwing cuffs on these people? That's what abolish the police means. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to figure that out, but it takes more time than I think most people online are willing to give it. Like, it requires doing like 4 clicks instead of like 1.5 clicks. So people are just like, nope, too much. I have chips to eat. I can't do that. What's interesting about that too is they bring up a lot of these like Tim Pool kind of guys. They bring up like, well, a lot of people in poverty in a lot of black neighborhoods don't want the police to leave. And the reason that some research brings back that result is because it's better than nothing. Having police around, if you're not going to deal with these what they are, which is social problems of opportunity and gross inequality, then okay, I guess we'll have the police then. I mean, it's better than no. A horrible solution is better than no solution, I guess. I've just decided this. Tim Pool is the Miles Davis of idiocy, because all he has to do is kind of it's the in between. It's the notes you don't play. That's Tim's thing, because or at least it's kind of like there's a couple. He stays on beat. Certain beats like a little bit, and then he can just kind of go to paint all around. Like, none of this makes any sense what he's saying. Like none of it. It's like, okay, private police, a jury voted to convict a guy on some charges. It's not the justice system. It's not these juries. It's leftists somehow, even though a jury decided this based on a prosecution and a defense. So it's leftists somehow, and they're trying to get rid of the police through this somehow. And did you see the squad? It's just like, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just like, you just have to hit certain notes along the way. Also, if anybody's out there and looking to do a YouTube channel, you know what I mean?
No.
Which if you do, you will become a competitor of me, and I will be very mad at you and competitive with you. But you could do a whole show just on Tim Pool's live chat. I'll just read you a couple. I was like, while I was watching his live stream, I was just like, these chats they're so good and so funny. Here's one. Mostly just because they're just so wacky and like interesting. $10 super chat. 420, it's a weird day. There is 420 blaze it. And Hitler and my niece's birthday. Hitler and my niece's birthday. And then he says, reincarnation, maybe? Cause I hope that he's implying my niece is a little shit. Her and her, which is kind of cute and funny. And then it takes a not funny turn. And the day Lady Justice bent the knee to domestic terrorism. Remember it well. To these people, there's no way that this jury could have come to this conclusion based on the evidence. $50 super chat. True justice has died today. The terrorists prove that fear can work. We have elected weak leaders that won't protect us. I fear this country will become an authoritarian state ruled by these lunitics without impunity. And look, I'm not the best speller in the world, but there's spell check on these chats. So I guess just these people don't have a lot of time, you know? Okay, we got another good theory here. Here we go.
This is what'll happen. They will defund the police. They will use the Chauvin case as an example, and they're going to march and they're going to say, see? And then once the police are defunded, the rich people who don't care are going to hire, G4S or Securitas or something. And they're going to have a couple guys in suits with glasses outside their house, and they're going to worry about anything. We talked about this last year during the riots.
Over 500,000 people watched this in a day. I mean, it's truly shocking. It really, this is astounding. Over 500,000 people watched this in a day. He made I would guess, looking at the super, thousands of dollars doing this thing, and try to make sense of this.
This is what'll happen. They will defund the police. They will use the Chauvin case as an example, and they're going to march and they're going to say, see?
They're going to defund the police. They'll use the Chauvin case as an example. As an example for what? As an example for what? So in your mind, so I guess the jury, in his mind, should have just, I guess, to keep things safe, voted the other way? Because now someone is going to use it as an example? What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
What?
And then once the police are defunded, the rich people who don't care are going to hire, G4S or Securitas or.
I mean, there's so many levels to this part too. First of all, this is already what happens. Rich people already have private security. Second of all, if you kind of know anything about the police, they're not very effective at solving crimes. If you look into this a little bit, they don't. It's not a lot of that. Most of what police do, and this might be shocking if you look into this and read it, is they police poor people. They write tickets for people who maybe let's just say a couple of years ago, let's just say they let their car insurance lapse for a second. A cool guy type of guy who people like and think is funny. Maybe he let his insurance run out because he was a pobrecito, and they wrote him a ticket for that, and he had to pay he had to get gouged by a law that said if you get paid this, you have to pay this fee. But in the state of Texas, I'm getting very specific with this guy that I made up, that they ended up, they found was should never have existed in the first place. But he still paid a bunch of it, even though it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, you get what's going on here. But this is what most of policing is nowadays. It's writing these tickets for people who can't afford to do this kind of crap. So he's like, he lives in this fantasy Marvel world where he's like, if the police aren't around, then good thing I have guns, because I'm gonna do barrel rolls out of a truck. This is really somebody who watches one too many movies. But it's kind of a shocking thing. But that's kind of the truth about policing, is that they're not really statistically in the business of pew 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 and doing rolls and sliding across the front of the car and doing chases and stuff. And tracking down murderers using wit and wisdom. And the next level is that he just doesn't know anything about what people mean when they say abolish the police. And I don't know, even part of me, maybe it is bad marketing, but maybe it is just shows like, hey dude, look it up. Do a little bit of research. The guy's a millionaire. This guy's a millionaire. By the way, people were doxing him in his chat too. Like I saw that somebody was like, "You're doxing the guy." I was like, "What?" And I looked up and they were like spamming the dudes all his information. I was like, "That's not nice." I disagree with that. Even though I think he's a total dip, he's a dipstick and a kook and a dingus and a wackadoo and a ding dong and a goober and a jar of goobers and a jelly donut head and a scrambled egg brain. I'm not gonna give his address out. You know what I mean? Does anybody have any idea what I'm talking about out there?
No.
He can't read any of these easily accessible books, and in most cases, if not all cases, free books. Go to the library or something to discover that policing can't solve social issues. It's funny too, like these guys always try to do this, like Tuck Carlson tries to do this too. This guy.
Bad Barbie.
This guy tries to do this too, where he's like, I'm looking out for poor people and common people. So he takes this turn where he's like, the poor people are just going to have no police, and the rich, those fat cat, the rich, like guys who make a lot of money lying on YouTube and live in a skate park compound, they're going to have private security. I'm a populist. Is BS, because if you knew anything about this issue, you would know that poor people would be far better off with the abolish what they really mean when they say, including like if you looked on like certain Black Lives, the most one Google search Black Lives Matter website that says fix these social issues so that we don't have to be have the police policing poverty and mental illness and sex work and homelessness. Here's another from his chat, like right this minute. Private police will turn the world into a cyberpunk dystopia. Corporate welfare, hot warfare will happen. In other words, I love movies. I love watching movies and video games, and it's how I filter the entire world. Thank you. Literally the next comment. They want to destroy cops so they can create chaos, and then we get robot cops, aka police state authoritarians. I love the movie RoboCop, and I filter all my views through it. I love RoboCop too, and I actually would like to see a RoboCop. The other good thing about Tim Pool is that when you do a lot of research the way that he does, you come up with really good questions. So here we go.
I love the idea of socialists and leftists condemning the state right now, when the state literally won its case. The state versus Derek Chauvin. The state is the winner. They're complaining about us. I see these tweets. They're like, it was an agent of the state who committed a murder, and it's good to see. They should not be allowed to do that. And I'm like, it's the state who also won, from the guy to the bus. Also, if you're a socialist and you want socialized everything, then shouldn't you be happy with a socialized law enforcement system?
Well,
apparently not.
This is not even a joke what I'm about to say. This one is so kind of silly that there's like so many, like you have to start so far back. First of all, like explaining what socialism means and the people that he's specifically critiquing, which he has to for, which is people like the Squad who are like New Deal Democrats who basically want public health care, tuition-free college, and crap like that, green job programs and stuff like this. Why wouldn't they want the police to like specifically exist the way they do that Tim wants? I guess is like how we would have to fix the question. And like the military is paid for by the government, so why don't they like the military? How much we're spending on the military, the CIA? Why don't they like the CIA? Because technically it's a socialist because of the government. Oh boy. I mean, I get it. Like, this is but over 500,000 people watched this. And he made thousands of dollars off of this. I mean, you know, most socialists today, they fall into one of those categories of either like they want public health care. They want a healthcare system that works provably better than like all these other, than our country. Proven in like multiple other countries. Or they want like some reorganization of wealth, inequality. Like they want some giant companies, basically. If I had to guess what most socialists in this country want, is they want like more worker involvement at big companies. And Tim Pool comes in with if you knew anything about the topic, and then he comes in and he says, why don't they like the police then? Did you just make a fart noise with your mouth? No, you did.
What?
And let's back up, because of course this is a childish show for childish people, but one thing that you should grow out of and be disillusioned by, and you're hardened and you get old, you're an old decrepit fossil who learns that action movies and police movies are not real, and most of what police do is not defending people against violent crime. And you would be a little bit intellectually curious, you know, and you would get off the
Toilets.
And you would go and look and you would say, oh, actually, it looks like what police are largely doing is sort of just maintaining a system that needs work. Maintaining some social aspects that need work. That if you have like wild inequality, then what police are going to be doing is trying to clean up the mess. Not even try to clean up the mess, but just kind of thrown at poverty and things like this. And not really know what to do and mess it up and hurt people and kill people. Then you could get, if you kind of were curious enough, you would sort of learn these things. And then, you would start being interested in, maybe there are like solutions. Or maybe there are steps we could take to better these things. Okay, this might be one of the funnier parts of this.
It's do you guys know what Pascal's wager is?
No.
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yeah,
No.
I've heard of it,
All right.
yeah.
So it's basically this dude was like, if I believe in God and I die and none of it was real or true, then
Okay, he's going to go into the whole explanation of Pascal's wager, and he's going to tie it into something. And look, I get it, Tim. I do this too. I learn something or I read something and I'm like, how can I work this into a conversation? How can I work this thing that I learned that I think is very clever? How could I shove it in square peg in a round hole style into a conversation where it absolutely doesn't belong? I do it. I've done it. Okay? Because I'm an insufferable dingus. But I try not to do it on camera. You know what I mean?
and what does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
But if I believe in God and I die and it is true, I get to go to heaven. He says, now if I don't believe in God and it's not true, it doesn't matter. And if I don't believe in God and it is true, well, then I go to hell. So your safest bet is to be, believe in God or be religious.
It isn't.
It's not necessarily a fantastic argument, but I bring this up because
it's not necessary. What I just said, bit stupid. It's a bit stupid, Pascal. Bit of an idiot. But
we have what I call I'll call it the critical theorist's wager or the social justice wager. If you are on the right and you stand up for your rights, you will likely be canceled or banned. Mm-hmm. If you are on the right and you do nothing happens. You end up losing. The left ends up gaining ground. If you're on the left and you stand up for what you and you don't stand up for what you believe in, the left still charges through, gets whatever they want. And if you're on the left and you stand up and scream, you will likely get whatever you want. So
you're celebrated.
Right. So this wager is very obvious. If you want to run a business right now in this environment, your best bet is just to feign leftism.
This is absolutely true. If you run a business in this country, it's best just to feign leftism. And I know this is true because I live in Kentucky and I have a 4,000-ton truck dealership. And when customers come in to my Alabama, did I say Alabama? Kentucky. When people come into my Kentucky truck dealership, I say trans rights to them. I say I have cat ears on. And I say, Marx was right about a lot of stuff. And they're like, thank God, because I was about to throw a shit fit in this Kentucky car dealership if you didn't say that. Or, it's true. I have a jet ski rental in Miami. And when people come, I say, worker cooperatives are the way to go. And I have to say that because if I don't, they'll riot and they'll throw rocks at my jet skis. I run an Etsy store, and in order to get my business not burned to the ground, I put a little note on every, on every pillow with Nick Cage's face printed on it. I put a little note that says, healthcare is a human right, and it should be decommodified based on evidence, based on economic results from other countries. I have to put that on there, because if they don't, then it's over for me. Okay, so of course we got to look at Benjamin Pepino.
No.
A guy who people listen to. A guy who people watch the videos of. This one got 1.3 million views in one day. The Daily Wire backstage, dudes hanging out. We're just dudes hanging out talking about this. There's a sad vibe in this room after that verdict came back. Let's just watch this. Ben Pepino's awesome because unlike Tim Pool, he can kind of make it sound like he knows what he's talking about because he's had legal schooling. He's a Harvard law graduate, so he can kind of make his ridiculous opinions sound legit. So here we go.
Very aggressive. That would have been an aggressive jury. If you were a not aggressive jury, you would have hung on all three counts. And if it had hung on all three counts, if it hung at all, then the judge would have instructed them to keep going back in the jury room, trying to beat it out, because the fact is that you need a unanimous verdict for either acquittal or for conviction in Minnesota. The fact that it was unanimous that quickly meant pretty clearly that it was going to be conviction on all charges coming out. We'll have to see whether people who had, spent their nights planning for rioting and looting now actually go home, or whether they go ahead and hit the local Target in celebration, presumably.
Oh, It almost kind of started to sound like you were, I'm just giving a legal opinion. But of course, then we have to show this video here and then say these people are going to hit the local Target. People who were planning on rioting and looting are going to hit the local Target on the way home based on the outcome of the trial. That doesn't sound like just dry legal information.
Matt, you watched it really closely. For people who watched this case closely, there are elements here that it's very difficult to make the case, to me, that any rational jury would have, who just looked at the evidence, would have come to the conclusion that beyond a reasonable doubt, Chauvin was guilty of second or third degree murder. This just did not fulfill the elements. Okay, here we go. He's going to say some things. It's sort of funny how they frame this. They're like, the legal guy went to Harvard Law School. So let's just let him talk and, we're getting a sound legal opinion. Here we go. The second degree murder charge required felony assault that results in the murder. So usually that is where you're robbing a store, you got a gun, the gun accidentally goes off and kills somebody, right? Or the guy dies for some other reason while you're in the process of committing some sort of felony. So you had to show that he intended to commit a felony against George Floyd. It's very difficult to say that he intended to commit a felony against George Floyd because Minneapolis Police Department procedure allows you to do exactly what Chauvin was doing.
What he just said sounds good. If you're a casual listener, casual viewer, it sounds, oh, wow. this guy knows his legal stuff. But he is really just giving his opinion that we already know through legally sounding things. Okay, so we'll go through piece by piece here.
The second-degree murder charge required felony assault that results in the murder. So usually that is where you're robbing a store, you got a gun, the gun accidentally goes off and kills somebody.
So he gives this example of like, oh, you're robbing a store and the gun goes off and you kill somebody. He says that's usually the case. Well, the court decided that it's not only that case. The second, this is from the AP, this is a good, they described it pretty good. The second degree murder charge requires prosecutors to prove Chauvin caused Floyd's death while committing or trying to commit a felony. In this case, third degree assault. So they decided he was doing third degree assault on this guy, but they decided he was doing third degree assault. He was doing a felony, and it resulted in this a second degree murder. So he's giving an example. He's like, here's an example. Well, okay, that's one example, but you're just like diverting from what the court actually decided.
Right, or the guy dies for some other reason while you're in the process of committing some sort of felony. So you had to show that he intended to commit a felony against George Floyd. It's very difficult to say that he intended to commit a felony against George Floyd because Minneapolis Police Department procedure allows you to do exactly what Chauvin was doing under these circumstances.
So he totally like injects his opinion in here. He says, well, it's hard to prove that he intended to commit a felony because the Minneapolis thing has instructions that you should do what he was doing. Well, the problem is not that he was doing but it's the way that he was doing it. Yeah, but it's not like carte blanche. They can do that in all circumstances, regardless of what's actually going on, what's actually happening in context. So again, it's just he's giving his opinion in a way that sounds very legal. So it's fun to make fun of these people and their kind of odd audiences and their weird emotional opinions and all this stuff. But really, like watching this trial and then seeing the verdict and all this stuff, like I did have this kind of feeling of like, man, what really the real victory would be to stop things like this. Like just the whole situation not happening and just the environment being different in general. That just across the board, these two people would have never gotten into this situation. And that this situation is unlikely to happen in this country and society and all this crap. And that can be done, or at least steps can be taken to improve conditions to the point where this kind of thing isn't happening all the time. So that's the real takeaway. Was justice served? Not really. A police guy's going to jail who probably deserves it in these conditions, but the real victory, of course, is to fix these underlying problems, and that takes a little bit more work. But these guys aren't interested in that because of... So they can go in a place we like to call the...
Toilets.
Okay?
Toilet.
And I will see you...
Blue Chew.
later. Hey everybody, and thanks so much for watching this video. Like all the other YouTube and podcast perverts, I now have a Patreon. Here you can get daily access to the audio-only feed. And every week on this Patreon, I'm uploading 2
exclusive
Patreon-exclusive shows. They're like real shows, more produced, more edited. One of them is a behind-the-scenes show where I reveal all the secrets and YouTube scams that I'm doing. And the other one, I just reveal my innermost dark, cringe secrets. So if that's something that you are interested in, check it out.
on Patreon.
I'll put a link in the, what is the thing called? In the description, I guess. So thank you so much, even if you don't. Thanks for watching this video. I know it's hard to get through these things, but I appreciate you.